I think it's time to tell Repugnus that he's adopted. I mean, I know it's really awkward, but I don't want him finding out on his own that his real father's a minicon. I can't remember the last time I was this excited for a Transformers exclusive release, and you guys have to understand, I grew up with a G1 Grotusque. He survived my childhood. I've had him since before I can even remember when I got him. He's always been a part of my childhood, and he's part of my collection now. So to actually have a modern version is kind of surreal. I never expected them to do another one, and yet Titan's Return seems to kind of delight in defying my expectations for what toys they are willing to make new versions of. So let's see how it turned out. For starters, we have to acknowledge that this is a very extensive remold of Twinferno. And by that I mean he has basically the same lower half, so he has the same tail, the same legs for his beast mode, as well as the same wings, and the same cockpit door for the Titan Master. However, everything else on this toy seems to be completely new. The remolding is extensive, creating whole new arms, new torso, new beast head, new robot head, whole bunches of new stuff that really changes up the profile of the toy. And speaking of profile, he is a little bit of an odd one, isn't he? As one of the G1 Monster Bots, he has a lot of imagination in his beast mode as far as the overall design goes, which means you needed imagination to figure out what he was. I think back when I was a kid, the closest I came to was Flying Saber-Toothed Tiger. And these days they call it a gargoyle. And yeah, I will give you credit. Gargoyle, that's pretty much spot on. Okay, I will consent to that. So, plastic-wise, he's done up very lovingly in a very kind of a dark shade of magenta going on. It's an interesting and unusual plastic color, and it's two-toned on the toy. You can see the legs a little bit brighter than the torso and the arms. I'm kind of a little bit disappointed because the primary color I wish was the lighter shade and make it match the original. The original Grotusque leaned a lot closer to the pink. Whereas this, yeah, this is much closer to the magenta, almost edging toward maroon, I would say. Other than that, he has some off-white going on here, which works pretty well as the gray for the lower legs and such. He has some colors that have changed from the original. For starters, the original did not have white feet, nor did it have painted claws, but those are not bad additions. Also, so he has some accurate colors. The head is done lovingly. The little dots on the side of the neck, that's accurate. The neck piece and then the lower jaw, those are correct colors. Absolutely brilliant. And I do love the reinterpretation of the design. It's a little bit more realistic, if I can call this any kind of realistic design. The original one had a very large head. It was very cartoonish. Here, the proportions have been shored up a little bit to make a little bit more sense, and that's hard to argue. Also, he comes with twin cannons on his back, which have special tab-ins, just for mounting it there. So we'll go ahead and set that aside so you can get a look at him cleanly. I think the only real change from the original to now is he's only got one tail, whereas the original had two, which I always thought was a really unique little minor touch. But here, hey, the cost of being a remold, I guess. Hey, I didn't think I'd ever get him, so I'm not going to complain. If he's got any real negative, it's that due to a piece of his transformation that's ultimately pointless, he has little flaps in his armpits. Very strange, but other than that, he doesn't do too bad of a job. He even has a lot of paint going on. I'm pretty sure the shoulders are completely painted. They have that glossy look to them, and it's not a complete match to the white. Also pretty sure the wings are completely painted because they used to be translucent on the original molding. Yeah, they didn't skimp on this thing. They shouldn't, for the added cost, being an exclusive and all that. Okay, so let's get him, well, before we show robot mode, we'll go ahead and show off Titan Masters. And yes, I said plural. We'll go into his gut and kind of fiddle around until we get his personal Titan Master, Fingal. who, you remember how Twinferno had a Battle Beast sculpt homage for his Titan Master? Same here, and it's a saber-toothed tiger head, but the difference here is they went to town on the paint apps. He's got color all over him, blue arms, blue lower legs, he's got little white claws down there, and then, yeah, he's got that same kind of magenta for the legs, and yeah, the head looks absolutely awesome. I really, really wish Twinferno's head got painted up like this. This makes him very, very cool. Same articulation as always. Ball joint in the neck, ball joint in the shoulders. It really only worked for going up and down. And then the double hinge that is the thighs in order to give him the ability to sit down. So I'm going to set him aside because we have another one to talk about, because he did come with a bonus Titan Master, and he is Scorponok. Or rather, he's actually Lord Zarak with Scorponok's trademark, so we can keep that nice and fresh until they're ready to release the big bug himself. As you can tell, he is a pretty decent homage to that, using the same Titan Master mold they used for Fangry, which they also used for Ultra Magnus, strangely enough. And yeah, he's not a bad attempt at recreating the original Headmaster. I can go ahead and, I was going to go ahead and show the articulation on him, but I just remembered. If you can see, mine is a little bit weird because he has two right arms, which means his left arm does not hinge upward. If anyone out there has two left arms, let me know. We might be able to help each other out. But it does not really affect the transformation. I will say he is much tighter to transform because the torso as well as this face are die-cast rather than plastic, which makes balancing him a little bit weird, and he is very heavy for a Titan Master. That said, I'm happy with the head sculpt choice here. He leans far more to the Marvel Comics or just the more standard image of Scorponok rather than having that huge visor or the toy's super tiny face in a giant helmet look. He looks much more how I remember him from fiction, and that's a really good thing. And yeah, he makes a nice little bonus accessory, though not a whole lot you can do with him beyond that. So that's pretty much what you get. We're ready to transform, though I will make one little nitpick. I don't like how blocky the forearms are. The original had these little claws coming out the front of the arm, so it wasn't as noticeable. Coming off a top-down hinge, it looks a little bit awkward, but it's a minor nitpick. I just thought I'd point it out before we get into full-on transformation. So we'll go in with the typical stuff that we did for Twinferno first, which involves splitting the tail and then splitting this, which mounts to his pelvis. They clip in here in the back, and it's a pretty tight connection. So undo the tabs. Come on, there we go. With that out of the way, we can flip everything out and get everything into its normal home. So down we go with the feet. Whoa! Sorry, went a little footloose on me. That's what happens when you're in too much of a rush to get him transformed. Okay, transform properly, and we flip those feet to the rear, and that gives us our lower legs, and that frees us up to get into the interesting stuff, which is all the new transformation. So we rotate the arms up like so, fold down these arms, which is a little simple style of transformation, but kind of clever at the same time. Go ahead and figure out which direction the arms go, and then we can go ahead and flip out the hands, which were very obvious in beast mode, but no real complaints on that. It's what it takes to get it done. And then comes the magic. I love this part. So we're going to completely, which, by the way, jaw works so good. I didn't show off the beast mode articulation just because it's pretty much the same in the robot mode, and we'll get to that here in a bit. But there we have the lower jaw and the lower neck all folding down and creating that piece, and then the head goes down to the back, which pretty much replicates what it did in G1. And then we get Fengull over here, named after the last rainforest. I actually don't know where he's named from. I'm just wasting airtime now. And then we slot in as per usual with these. His painted head makes him a little bit tight to get in there, so you kind of have to work the angles a little bit and really make sure you get him in securely. I'm not even getting him. All right, there we go. A little bit stubborn, but not too bad. And with that, Grotusque in his robot mode. Whew. It's actually a really nice way of working the original transformation. The legs doesn't really affect it too much. It still kind of feels more like the original, and the new transformation for the torso feels so different from Twinferno. It makes for a very, very interesting retool and a very different feeling toy, which is very, very nice. So, close up of that head. Nice white, a lot of paint in order to make it match, and looking very, very stern and boss-like. I always really liked his head. I think there's something about the darker face on him that just gave him a more menacing look than your typical Autobot, which normally just has the standard silver face going on. He works pretty well for me, and yeah, all that new sculpting works so well. It's so good. So, along with all of the new details, all the new moldings, we have a lot of the traditional stuff from Twinferno left over. A little bit of blue there, a little bit of extra maroon painted on the hips, and a little bit more gray here in the pelvis section. Oh, and then we go up here where we have imitation sticker painting going on. The yellow, the red over here, Autobot symbol, kind of awkwardly painted over a rivet hole, but it kind of works. At least it's on the wing too. It's on the wing too, so we can forgive one getting messed up if it's on the wing. Looking quite cool. I'm thrilled with how well he came out. And yeah, just like Twinferno, he cleans up rather nicely. There's not a whole lot of kibble going on. I don't really mind the back feet even, the feet hanging off of the rear, because they make really nice heels. And then yeah, he does have the big head hanging off the back, but that's entirely accurate. If I actually wanted to be more accurate, I would actually hinge it out like that. That's a little bit closer to how the G1 toy looked. So we'll leave it there, and it actually tabs into the same slots that the double-barreled gun tabbed into, which we can go ahead and bring that back into the fold. This is one point where I kind of feel like they knew this was going to be Grotusque from the beginning, because a double-barrel gun is his traditional weapon, whereas the other monster bots prefer their single-barrel blasters. Now, this is one of those points, one of the few points where having two Titan Masters is really cool, because we can go ahead and plug in his additional in order to sit in the prerequisite spot on the combined gun. He has a couple pegs in there where his feet can securely hold on into place. It does feel a little bit weird to have a Decepticon manning an Autobot weapon here, so it's really just a goof around extra play value method. And then, of course, they do split, so we can have him dual wielding these guns as well, which always works pretty well. I like dual barrel. I like the multiple accessories that some of these Titan Master toys end up having. Titans Return very good at having lots of armament. So, articulation. This is the fun part, because we get to show off all the little tricks. So, head, thanks to that engineering, works very well. A little bit of rock and roll, but rotation is what we need, and that's what we got. Here's the fun part. Because of the way this toy is engineered, I do have like full up and down and universal shoulder motion. If I want extra, I have that flap, and I can raise his arm up all the way over there if I really want to. Oh, it's fun. It's a toy. It should be. So, do we have anything at the waist? No, we don't. We do have this piece that gets out of the way, though, so that's nice. Bicep rotation, elbow, about 90 degree. That works. Nothing at the wrist. The thigh, full universal, that works. Swivel, that works as well. And then very deep knee bend thanks to the transformation style. We have a turn, a rotation there at the angle, but nothing that rocks. He's got a natural slant to it instead. Also a little bit of difficulty holding that particular peg in, so that might just be mine, or I might just have goofed something. Entirely possible. So, plenty of articulation, plenty of play options in both modes. That leads me to a pretty good deluxe class toy, and for a premium price, he really should be. And that's the kind of the crux here. Is he worth that extra money for the exclusivity of him? Well, I can happily say yes. Because he is so extensive as a retool, he feels like a very different toy from Twinferno. He will work in with him very well. You'll feel like you've got two completely different characters out of him. The transformation's neat. I love the upgraded beast mode. And yeah, the robot mode, plenty of articulation. What pushes him over the edge, aside from, yeah, a little tiny Scorponok head, is the fact that he has so much extra paint deco going on in order to make the toy work and in order to replicate so much of the details from the original G1 figure. I feel like a lot of love and attention went into something that would have otherwise just been pushed to the side or just cheaply done just for the sake of doing another monster bot. I genuinely feel like someone was really intent on getting a really, really good Grotusque out, and I feel like they very much succeeded.